Hello everyone, YouTube family out there. Jay Riz here. I have my brother on. His name's Justin. New brother. New brother show this week. Like I said before in my past, if you haven't seen my videos, go ahead and scroll down below, check them out. You'll know a little bit about myself. I have a channel called The Recovery Warrior. We all are warriors in recovery, the brothers and sisters that I asked to come on. And we fight the battle of addiction every day, hence the name Recovery Warrior. I'm not the Recovery Warrior. You can call me that if you want. My real name is Jay Rizzo. Friend me on Facebook. Friend me on Facebook, my Recovery Warrior page. Go ahead and give her a like, give us a follow. You can also hit up Justin here. We're both from the Bismarck area, and we are brothers in recovery. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and let Justin jump on. Go ahead, Justin.
Hello everybody, my name is Justin M. I'm from the Bismarck community here in North Dakota. Originally from the MHA Nation. I grew up in Whiteshield, North Dakota, which is a really small town. I was checking on the internet today, and I think the census said it was like 200 people, but I don't think I think there's more than that probably, in the community of Whiteshield, And that's where I began my addiction, my usage also, of my substance use disorder too, and kind of where everything kind of began. It was a small town. I grew up there. I grew up in a good home. My mom was a hard worker. She also had like her own problems going on. As raising 3 boys at the time, we grew up with a single mother, she worked hard, and of course we all have a sad story, with alcoholism, and like back then, it was only alcohol, I think we all have that same story of like seeing the parties, right, and you're want to see who's in your kitchen or who's in your your living room, right? And the atmosphere of it,
Curiosity,
right? You're just like, well, who's on the corner, and the mom's screaming, oh, go back to your room, right?
Yeah.
So me and my brothers, we kind of grew up like that. We kind of took we took care of each other, right? We went everywhere together. We played basketball together in our little community with me, my brother, my friends, right? The atmosphere of that party life, right? It was seeing aunties and uncles, and my mom's friends partying, right? Maybe every once in a while, well, we seem like an uncle or an auntie that like would give us some moods out of there. And we would go spend it at the YB store, right? And we wouldn't even buy food, right? We would buy a bunch of candy, and our stomachs would get all messed up, right? Because we really didn't eat a meal sometimes, So, and we've seen that, or we people stealing people's pockets, right? Pickpocketing them, right? Or digging into cushions, see if there's any money right there, and there'd be some beer bottles everywhere. Sometimes, some cigarettes, right? Here and there, right? And it was just like, I didn't think anything out of the ordinary for it. I thought it was just what people did.
The norm.
The norm, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, if they're doing it, sometimes there would be some violence, right? Sometimes they would have fun, right? And it just went on like that for a while, I don't think I started drinking, or my first taste of alcohol was till I was like 12 years old, right? And that wasn't even my first use. I think my first use was weed. I used to work at this summer youth program at the old complex in Whiteshield, and there was this older guy there, kind of looked like Bob Marley.
Yeah.
had that hair, right, and he had the camel pants on, right, and I by then I kind of knew what the smell was, and I smelt it in his truck, right, and we were cruising around, and I kind of like, me, I like to dig around, right? And this was like back when the trucks were old, right? So I opened up that pull-out ashtray, right?
And makes a noise when you pull it out.
And I seen a little white bowl with some some roaches in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, is this it? Is this it right here? You know? So I built up like, maybe it took like 2 weeks to build up the courage to take it, you know, and I took it, right, you know, and I thought it was cool. I had this little bowl, right, you know, I had a few roaches, right, you know, and what do? I want to go share it with my friends, you know.
Yeah.
So it was me, it was my brother, another relative, right, you know, and we go to smoke it, right. I don't know if we even got high or not, you know what I mean, but it felt cool. Like we felt like, or I felt like I was like I belonged.
Yeah,
right? You know what I mean?
purpose, huh?
And here I am, like this older brother, right? This older relative, you know, like influencing my younger brother, right? And my younger well, he's my uncle, but he's younger than I am, right? You know, that weird native thing.
Yeah.
Like and yeah, we smoked it, right? You know, and it goes on, right? You know, and I drank when I was like 12 years old. I was walking down it was pretty late. It must have been about 10 o'clock. It was dark anyways, right? You know, and I was walking from my house. I was walking over to my grandma's house. And there was this group of older teenagers, you know. Some of them were my relatives, right? You know, they're having a good old time. They're drinking like out in the open, right? You know, and I mean there was no cops around. You know what I mean? You didn't have to really worry about that kind of stuff, right? You know, I get that. I get to like where they're at, and they called me over, and I'm like, hey Justin, how's it going? Whatever. Here's a shot. Like, and I looked. I'm like, oh my God, it's like I feel like belonging, right? You know, like I felt cool, right? You know, I get to do this. You know what I mean? And it was a reserve.
Oh yeah.
Remember those old reserves? They're like that 40-ounce bottle.
Okay, like a flavored beer almost.
Flavored beer, and it had that little like tiger on it. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I think it was that, and I'm drinking it, I'm chugging it, right? You know, and they're kind of like cheering on, you know, they're kind of laughing, you know, and I thought it was cool, right? You know, I must have spent like 15 minutes right there, and they sent me on my way. I went to my grandma's house, you know, and I remember going downstairs, and I felt like how the book talks about, right? You know, it talks about this warm sensation, right? You know, and that's what it felt like, right? You know, I didn't know that as I got older, right? I wasn't drinking for the taste, I was drinking for the effect, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, and right there, I mean, I seen alcoholism, right? I knew what it did, right? You know, I knew the violence of it, I know the atmosphere of it, you know, and I knew all these things, right? And I was told myself when I was younger, I'm never gonna be that person. Yeah. Right, you know? Right. And once this like opportunity presented itself, right? The potential alcoholic that I knew that I was gonna be, right? Right there, the book talks about this potential alcoholic, right? You know, and right then and there, I knew I was gonna try it again.
Yeah. The obsession.
It just kicked in, right? I knew I wanted more, you know. I knew I wanted to try it again, you know. The atmosphere, you know, the laughing, the music, right? You know, and all these things. It was like, now I have arrived. Like how the book says, I have arrived, right? You know, and that was like my first experience, right? You know, I used to be in sports. You know, I thought I was kind of like a goody two shoes kid, right? You know, and like didn't want to get in trouble for this, didn't want to get in trouble for that, right? You know, and I played basketball and I ran, you know. So, but as I got older, right, you know, like all these like my friends that they're smoking weed, right? You know, they're drinking, right? Maybe they're drinking on weekends, right? You know what I mean? You know, and I wanted to be a part of that. Then I had this other life that I was becoming like a good athlete. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're transitioning to like this adulthood, right? You know, this young man part, right? You know, and like right off the bat, right? You know, I knew like when I drank, I drank for the effect, right? But I drank it too fast, right? You know, and I would start to hit the blanks right away. Yeah. And it was fun, right? I was more confident, right? First of all, right? I can talk to people, right? You know, in a good way. I can laugh, right? You know, I thought it was cuter, right? Like everybody, right? Think they're cuter, right? They think they're the guy, right? You know. Yeah. I can talk to people, right? Again, you know, and it's just like, man, like this is cool, right? Yeah. You know.
I know what you mean.
Then it started to become more frequent, you know, in between seasons, you know. There's some spots in my story where like in my high school days, I'm burning around White Shield and I'm so out of it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I was just like, man, like why can't I control my drinking, right? Like why can't I drink liquor like how my friends are doing it, right? You know, and
Yeah.
like the book talks about we wish you can treat like other people like the normal people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was never me, you know, or it was like someone else's turn, right? You know, like
Yeah.
someone else's turn to act up, you know, and you laugh at them, you know, and it's your turn to act up, and they make fun of you and all these things, right? You know,
Yeah.
and I get a scholarship for running. I go to I accepted a full ride to Mina State University, you know. I made a name for myself for a little bit with running, you know. And I knew when I signed this letter of intent to run for Mina State, that I wasn't gonna excel in academics.
Mm.
You know, I already knew that going into there. You know, I was just going there for running. You know, I knew that they were gonna win a national or a national championship, right? You know, so I go there, right? You know, and I'm really trying to like go to classes. You know what I mean? But then that ends real quickly. You know, I'm skipping classes. You know what I mean? You know, I'm going to practice only in the morning, and in the afternoon. You know, and then start to get old, right? You know, I'm 18 now. You know, I'm living in a dorm, right? You know, my mom's not around to yell at me or get in my case or to kind of put me in check, right? You know, because I need that kind of thing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and she's not there, right? You know, and I do what I want to do, that self will kind of thing, you know.
You're like, I got this.
I got this. I know what I'm doing, right? You know. And college is fun. I mean, there's parties everywhere, right? There's people, you meet new people, you know, and get hold of this ID.
Mhm.
This ID was a tribal ID, you know, and my friend is like, the height is not on there because my friend on the ID is actually like 5'7".
No.
Yeah, and I'm like 6'1", right? You know,
Yeah.
there's no height on there. You know, the picture's kind of blurry, kind of looks like me, you know. And so like, just try. Which they do, just kick you out, right? You know. So I go to the liquor store and try. I put my beer up there, you know. I get what I want and try to talk the talk of like, oh, I feel just a little older, right? You know.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do all that, right? You know, I just showed them my ID. It worked, right? You know, and that's where it kind of began, you know, of like I get liquor, I can get liquor on my own now, you know, I can drink when I want to now, you know, and drinking can start to become continuous, you know, through not just the weekends. Maybe it's drink on a Tuesday, you know, it's drink on a Thursday,
Control
you know,
drinking.
control drinking, you know, a
Yeah.
little bit of weed smoking here and there, right, you know, and I'm thinking that I can just run off talent.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to work at this one where I already am a good runner, right? You know, taking advantage of my abilities, my gift, right? You know, and as soon as you know it, man, oh man, I became that person, you know, that I didn't want to be. You know, I ended up getting kicked out of college. They sent me to tribes,
Mm.
you know, and to get my grades up, you know. And I already knew then once I went to tribes that I wasn't gonna
No, what is tribes?
United Tribes
United Tribes.
here in
Oh,
Bismarck to get my grades up. You
okay.
know, they had a little running program there. You know,
Yeah.
and even then I went there. I didn't even go my first week. I went to one class, and after that, I again living off my name, who I am, right? And I was getting into the bars, right? Now I was drinking every day, right? You know, self mutilating myself with
Yeah.
cigarettes, right? You know, and kind of being a bum, you know what I mean? Just living from couch to couch, right? You know, my godparents, their daughter, I used to go live at their place, you know, and just kind of just live off them, you know what I mean? I've used a whole lot of people, you know what I mean? You know, and I've been in those dark places. I've ruined a whole lot of relationships, you know, even with my mom, right? You know,
Yeah.
my brothers, my friends, right? You know, the women's that I would get into a relationship with, you know, giving them false hope and all these things, right? You know, thinking that I'm the man and all these things, you know, and I wasn't, you know. And
Yeah.
then that I think about it, you know, I'm roaring through the lives of others like a tornado,
Yeah.
you know, and just sweet promises are dead, right? You know, and just like thinking that was cool, you know, thinking that was the life, right? I have no job experiences, right? You know, I have no education, right? You know, I didn't know what work is, you know, and I was kind of a bun from from age 20 to like maybe 23 or 24, you know, and my drink became continuous, and you know, I'm drinking mostly every day. If it's not every day, it's every other day, you know. Friends are coming to pick me up, and we're drinking, right? You know, and I'm in relationships, right? You know, I'm cheating on that person, right? You know, they're not giving me the love that I want. I'm gonna go find it elsewhere, right? You know, and I'm just running amok, right? You know,
Yeah.
and I think then, right, like I forgot how old I was, right? You know, I'm living in Garrison, right? You know, and it was the girl that I was dating at that time. My brother is no longer with us, you know. He I I blank out, and I spaz out, and I take these 20-pound dumbbells,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember it, but I came to, there's a bunch of holes in my apartment, right? You know, and I had threw in the dumbbell through the wall, and it went into the
Damn.
neighbor's house, and it's this little old lady. She's like the sweetest, nicest lady, you know, and the woman that I was dating, she's like, yeah, she was really scared, and you know, and I go to jail, you know, and
Wow.
this is like my first like real charge, you know,
Yeah.
as being an adult, right? I get a what's it called? Conduct or something conduct.
Disorderly conduct.
Disorderly conduct or something like that,
Disturbing the
right?
peace, almost.
Yeah, you know, and I go to jail, right? You know, and the jailers are telling me that I can't contact the person I was living with because they didn't know if she signed a complaint on me or nothing like that. You know, so I'm sitting in jail for that, right? You know, and I had these burns on my arms, right? You know, and they were healing at the time, right? You know, and they were trying to send me to the psych ward because they thought I was like self-harming or something. I probably did, but not in that way, kind of, right? You know, my my orange shirt is all bloody right here and pussy, you know what I mean? You know, and like I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling that remorse, right? You know, and like, and this goes on, right? You know, and in that same moment that I was in a relationship at the time, you know, we decided like we want to start a family, right? You know, and I really want to stay sober.
Yeah.
We moved to Minot, right? You know, and I kind of get my stuff together, right? Just a little bit, you know, but in the back of my head, I'm only doing this because of the relationship. Oh, yeah. I want to drink.
Right.
You know, I can't stop thinking about drinking, you know, so I'm trying to please this person, right? You know, and we have our kid, right? You know, and things are kind of okay, right? You know, then that old thinking comes back again, and it doesn't take long. Like
maybe just one,
right?
Just one, babe.
Yeah, just one. I won't act up tonight, right?
Swear.
You know, I swear, I promised you, right? You know, and like, what do you know? I go out drinking, right? You know, and I end up in jail for public intoxication, right? You know, I cheated on her, right? You know, and we get into a big old fight, right? You know what I mean? You know, and same old story.
Yeah,
I know this story.
I can relate, man.
This happens all the time, right? And I'm telling myself like, why can't you get it together? Right? Why can't you just be like I don't think even back then I was thinking like a normal person. I didn't know what a normal person was. Like, why can't you just stop drinking, right, and work, right? You know, and things will be okay, right? You're a respectable guy when you're sober, right? You know, but I have this thinking problem, right? You know, I have insecurities, right? I have needs, right? You know what I mean? It's all about me. You know, it's not how I can better the relationship, right? You know, and I go into I started dabbling into pills, you know. I start starting hydros, you know, and
so did you put the alcohol down and picked up the pills?
It was kind of like, let's do this, but when we're doing this, we're gonna do this. But when we do this, this is what we're gonna do too.
Okay.
You know, and it's like, I know I can't drink, but I can do okay on this.
Yeah.
I can be okay in this, right? You know, and I start getting into hydros, you know, and I start getting to, I didn't know what a come down was before, you know.
Yeah.
it didn't take long too, you know. I start to come down, right, you know. I'm feeling sleeping all day. My kid, my oldest is like fending for himself, you know, and making the house dirty, you know, and I'm getting mad at him for it, you know what I mean, you know, and like not being that good parent, right, you know, and again, like what do? Again, I cheated on her, you know, and like in between that time where we're doing hydro's pretty good, you know what I mean, you know, friends would come over, we would line it up, we would do lines, you know what I mean, at this big old line hydro party, you know what I mean, you know, and then like meth came into the picture.
Oh, right.
Cocaine was there once in a while, but like each time, like remember like on Dewey Cox, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want none of this, you know. And every time I tried this, like this new thing, I loved it.
Oh yeah.
You know. Meth came into the picture, and it was just lines again, you know. And I was just tweaking out, right? You know, on my, I think it was the PS3 that came out then, you know, and I spent like 4 hours making an avatar. Making an avatar, you know what I mean? You know.
Oh man.
Oh, and I was just tweaked out again, you know. And this was like we're trying to save the relationship, you know, and methods in the picture, right, you know, and I go down this dark road from there. You know what I mean? At this time, I've been in and out of relationships, you know. I meet my second kid's mother, which is now my fiance. You know?
Okay.
We get into a relationship. You know, I met her at a bar. I met her at a bar here in Bismarck. You know, she was with someone else, right? You know, and I was high. She was drinking. You know, and she ends up leaving with me, right? You know, and we start this relationship, right? You know, I can't remember if she was doing drugs yet at the time or meth yet at that time or not.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago, you know. And all I want to do is be high. All I want to do is be on meth, you know, and like that same old story of like how everyone is. I try to dabble into selling, right? You know, living that life that I'm cool, right? You know, I think by this time I had gained a bunch of weight at that time, you know. Then I lost it like real fast, you know. One of my relatives was at the bar one time, you know, and he was like, "Holy crap, you lost a lot of weight." Man, I've been doing a lot of walking around.
Chewing on your earlobe.
Yeah, it wasn't true. I had a corona, my jaw's just cruising, right? You know. And, and I started to dabble into that life of like, you know what comes with that life, right? You know, it's just nothing but bad stuff, right? You meet people, right? You know, you meet new people, right?
Were you gonna be Scarface?
I would. Definitely. You know what I mean? I was trying to get $1 million,
Your
right?
empire?
Yeah.
End up doing it all?
Doing it all, right? You know. Then I start stealing from people, right? You know what I mean? I'm stealing from my mom, right? You know. Then I've always lived off people.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Like I've lived off a whole lot of people, you know.
Yeah.
I've taken advantage of a whole lot of people, you know. Situations, right? You know.
That's me.
Then we have our daughter, right? You know, and I showed up late to the birthing, right? You know, I was getting high, you know what I mean? And I take her back down to 48, right? You know, and I'm just being rude. And I can see myself like as I'm telling the story, and I can see like what I'm telling her. You know, like this is how it's gonna go. This is who I'm gonna be with. This is what I'm gonna do, right? You know, you're not gonna say anything about it, right? You know, it's just being a real dick, man.
Yeah.
You know, again. I like to womanize, right? You know, so I cheated on her. The relationship didn't last too long, you know. And I'm in other relationships, you know.
Yeah.
I'm walking around Bismarck with a backpack on, you know what I mean? That backpack has a speaker in it, and I'm bumping Kevin Gates, you know, or The Weeknd, right? You know, and I have a bunch of stuff in my backpack that doesn't even make sense, right? You know. I'm going from Cash-Wise, I'm going to Dan's, you know, when it was called Dan's, right, you know, and like just eating that way, right?
Yeah,
you know?
surviving, huh?
Surviving, right? I'm walking from East Rosser all the way to Tatley, you know.
So you have a bunch of charger cords in there?
charger cords, right? Sometimes I'll have a phone, sometimes I won't, right? You know, and just hoping that someone will let me in, right? You know, like at the end of it, right? And my mom and my brother were like, they weren't even letting me in their houses.
Yeah. Here it comes.
And you know, and it's just like they would tell me no outside from inside. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh.
Wow.
I was like, man, why does it have to be like this, Justin? You know, and
Yeah.
I asked myself why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I didn't have an answer. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a liar. I'm all these things, right? You know, and at that end of the run of that meth run, this is like 2016, I believe. You know, at this time, 2016, I have two more kids, with a, with a, with this woman, you know, and same thing, same routine, same story again, you know, treating her like crap, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
not feeling the role that I'm supposed to be as a partner, you know what I mean, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we break up, right? You know, and again, in another relationship, right? You know, and it was like 2016, you know, and I'm just done, you know. Nobody's opening their doors nowhere. Nobody wants me around. I ruined all relationships of like friends, right? I've stolen from people. I've used a whole lot of people, you know. And it was just like, man, like what do I do? You know,
Yeah.
at this time I'm breaking into like cars, right? You know, I'm taking people's cars without their permission, or saying that I'm going to use their car to go to this place and not bring their car back, right? You know, and like facing that music, right? You know, and
Yeah.
just like, well, this is just like what I am now. You know, this is like who I am. You know, I'm not really caring about you know, other people's like needs, right? You know, and this is when like 30s start to come around, you know, and I start to like dabble into it, you know.
Those are perk 30s.
Break 30s,
Perk
right?
30s.
You know, and I have nowhere to go. Again, I go to Minot with my kids, my two youngest boys' mom, right? You know, and at this point I want to get away from everybody. You know what I mean? I mean, not that I'm trying to hide from it, but nobody wanted me around. You know what I mean? So I move in with her, you know. And I think it was like 3 years or something like that, you know. We were together, you know, but it was pills.
Yeah.
We started off with a couple here and there, right, you know, and it turned into three here and there, right, you know. Then it turned to 4 or 5, right, you know. Then it changed into we're getting 5, right, you know, at a time, you know. And again, I'm not working a job. I'm getting money from my grandma. I'm getting money from my mom, right? She's getting money from her parents, right? You know, and we're just surviving off like that, you know. And it's just like, man, you know, I look back and like how can I survive like that like today? Because I have this whole different view of myself, and I'm practicing principles today that I can imagine myself doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought,
Right.
and we're moving from each spot from in Minot because we're getting more into it, right? You know, we're meeting new people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The people from out of state,
Yeah.
you know, and they're coming to the apartments at this point, right? You know, and the name of us are either her or me, right? You know, is people want to raid our house, right? You know, and we would move, right? You know, CPS would come knocking on their doors, and we wouldn't answer because I wasn't even supposed to be there, and I have a warrant this time for it's like some drug offense, you know that I'm trying to run from, you know, and it's just like, man, I'm just living the just comfortable life. I don't have to do anything, but I'm miserable. Waking up like at 5 o'clock during like 5 o'clock, right? You know, and then doing it all over again, right? You know, and then it starts to become 10 pills a day for the next 2 years. You know, and I mean, I think that was like early in my recovery. I added that up, right, and it was like $100,000
Wow.
a year. You know, and like, and maybe like 10 of those days we went without. You know, and that was hell. You know, and same thing, you know, the money starts to run out, right? The lies start to become more lies, right? I become unwilling, to do anything,
Hmm.
And this whole time I haven't done meth, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm coming down, I'm sick, you know what I mean? I don't want to feel like this, and then what do I do? I go back to meth. And it doesn't take long.
Yeah.
I think that day that I went back to meth was I went to a cousin's house up north in Minot, and I asked, do you have one? It's like, what do you mean? Like, and I, do you have one? He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I do, and I did a shot, right, and it was over like that. And I started being sneaky again, right, and I'm high all over the house, right, my kids are in there,
Making avatars again.
yeah. And this whole time I have 2 kids in the house, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Damn.
I'm not being the father that I
Mhm.
should be, you know what I mean? I can say it's her, I can say it's me, right? But it's like, for me, it was me too. I wasn't being that parent, you know what I mean? I wasn't teaching my kids anything, I wasn't trying to put them in preschool or nothing like that, I wasn't trying to get a job, right, And I feel sad because these 2 kids, they knew what our tools were,
Yeah.
where the tin was at, right, where the straws are at, right, and we're smoking these pills, right, while they're in the house, or sometimes we're like while they're in like the vicinity of us guys doing that, and I look back at it like, man, I am not so good person to do that, like, because that stuff can kill.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Then fentanyl start to come around, and it's like, man, it was just like, it was scary.
Yeah.
And so I this is like the summer of 2019, I'm out of that relationship, or I'm trying to save it too, or give false hope
Mhm.
to have my boys, right, so I'm lying, and I am fucking just running amok, right, and this one person was like, hey Justin, I think you should go to treatment. I'm like,
Mhm.
BS.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. That's
Give
not
me
for
the
me,
finger.
But in the meanwhile, I'm coming off of heroin. I'm coming off fentanyl, in 30s, and that's like a worst come down, and I start to do meth more,
Yeah.
And people kept on telling me, Justin, you need treatment. Just go to treatment, So like, So I remember I had this one friend that I used to, he was my best friend growing up, and I heard that he was sober,
Yeah.
and remember, like how the book says, Ebby came and saved Bill. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So this person was my Ebby, right?
Yeah.
And he used like me. He did stuff that I used, right? And I called him, right? And he's telling me to go to this treatment facility here in Bismarck, right? And it's like, all right, I think I'll do it, man. My life's going nowhere. Wants me around, right? I'm just running amok. I'm trying to juggle these relationships, and I can't even do that. I have my kids with my 2 boys with me, right? I don't even see my other daughter. My daughter's with my mom, and like not even like giving the care that I should take care of these kids, right? And put them in different kind of like dangerous situations, right? Or not so good situations, right? And it's like just thinking that was normal,
Yeah.
right?
And everything's just in shambles behind
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
burning.
Had this team of caregivers just following me around, right?
Yeah.
So and I called the one person that I don't want to say his name on
No,
here,
yeah.
right? He's a big part of like how everything got started,
Yeah.
of with sober livings here in Bismarck within our MHA community, right?
Mhm.
And I haven't talked to him in years,
Yeah.
I remember seeing a couple of his posts on Facebook that he was getting people into treatment, so I called him up, right, and he's like, yeah, we'll get you in, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to treatment, right, and it's like, I'm not going to that facility, that new facility we have for people in Pittsburgh. I'm not going there, right?
Yeah.
I want to get away from everybody, right, so I I get accepted into this treatment down in Arizona, you know. And even before that, right, you know, I'm trying to gather up money, right, you know. I remember calling my mom up, and she's like, and I called her, I was like, Mom, I'm going to treatment, and like, it makes me like tear up, because she's like, are you for real, Justin? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to treatment. I'm in minor right now. Like, how'd you get to minor? Weren't you just in